So let us look at the causes of the Chilembwe Rising or Chilembwe Revolts of 1915. The causes. The first one is the Tangata System. The Tangata System. On this one, Africans or Malawians, they were forced to work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they were paid only 1 shilling. 1 shilling. And a roll of tobacco. So Chilembwe saw this as an exploitation, and indeed it was. So this also meant that Africans they spend a lot of time on European farms than their own farms, leading to the perpetual food deficiency. That is, in their houses, they had no time to farm or to cultivate or to look after their crops because they spent most of the time in the European farms. And another cause of the Chilembwe Rising was the government policies and laws that oppressed Africans. So, for example, on this one, we talk of the policies like the taxation policies, where Africans were heavily taxed. And in addition to that, Chilembwe saw no reason as to why Africans they should be paying the hard tax for the structures built by themselves and again in their own land. So it did not give sense to Chilembwe to say why should people be paying the taxes for building houses in their own land. So it was also another thing for Chilembwe. And also land alienation in the Shire Highlands. So all the federal lands, they were taken up by the white farmers and settlers, just as we have mentioned, to say the good land in the Shire Highlands, it was taken by the whites. As a result, things were not okay with Africans. So Africans were tenants on their own land. They became tenants. And another cause was the conflicts between Chilembwe and William Jarvis Livingstone, the manager of the Bruce Estates. So this manager was ruthless, a racist, and also an uncompromising person. And also he was ill-treating and underpaying Africans on the estate, apart from committing some wicked activities against Chilembwe's property. For example, he encroached Chilembwe's land on several occasions and banned his churches and schools. So we see to it that the manager of this Bruce Estates, William Jarvis Livingstone, he was not in good terms with Chilembwe. As such, at several times they were quarreling over a number of issues. And another cause of the Chilembwe Rising was the influence from Joseph Booth, as well as the Black consciousness movement in America and the tertiary education. So we see to it that Chilembwe was influenced by Joseph Booth, the Black consciousness movement that was in America, as well as his attainment of tertiary education. So he was influenced greatly by the Black ideologies when he was studying in America. So Booth also left an impression on Chilembwe, whereby Booth was a believer in human equality. So he believed that Africa was supposed to be for Africans. So with that then, Chilembwe got that one to heart and he was greatly influenced with that. And when he came back home, or when he came back, Chilembwe passed on these ideologies to his handwrightmen or his followers, and that one caused about the revolts in 1915. Also, the personal problems of Chilembwe also contributed to the revolts of 1915. So just prior to the revolts, Chilembwe was hit by a wave after wave of personal problems. For example, death of his daughter in 1914, and his deteriorating health, his weakening health, he was asthmatic and had poor eyesight, and also he had also financial problems. So you can see a couple of problems here. These ones, they influenced him to take extreme options of armed rebellion. So although he was a man of God, he was a pastor, but then with a number of problems that were on his personal problems, that one, they led him to take drastic measures until he opted to go for armed rebellion against the colonial government. Also, the prophecies from independent churches, for example, we talk of Africans, they were unsettled during this time because of the prophecies and the doctrines that were taught by some independent African churches. So, Church of Christ, the Seventh Day, the Elliot Kamana's Watchtower Movement, and the Bible Tract Society were preaching of the dawn of the new age or the new era. So when the war erupted in 1914, that is the World War, people interpreted that this was the beginning of the new age or the end of colonization. And again, influence of other African resistance also played a part in the cause of the Chilembwe Uprising. So John Chilembwe and other African in Nyasaland, they were influenced and encouraged by other African resistance in East and Central Africa. For example, in 1905, there was the Maji rebellion in Tanganyika. Those ones, they rebelled against the Germans there. And also the 1896-1897 Shona rebellion in Zimbabwe. That one also, it contributed something to the Chilembwe uprising. Recruitment of Africans in the First World War was another cause of the Chilembwe uprising. So recruitment of these Africans in the war brought Chilembwe and the colonial government into head-on collision. So they were against each other. So he wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to the government through the Nyasaland Times of 25th November 1915. So in that letter, he was complaining of Africans' involvement in the war. So in that letter, 1915, he complained of the involvement of them, the Africans, in that war. So what did he observe? Number one was that Africans were fighting in a war whose cause they did not know. So his argument was that, no, why are you taking people to go into the war of which the war and the causes of that war, those people, they don't know? And also widows, orphans, as well as wounded soldiers were not speedily or properly compensated. So those people who suffered in the war or with the war, the others were they were shot dead in the front line there, leaving orphans and widows behind. And those people, they were not compensated, and even some, they were greatly wounded when they came back, and they were not quickly compensated. So that one was his argument on 25th November 1915. That is John Chilembwe. And also, ex-soldiers got enlightened on social political matters. As a result, they enlightened their fellow Africans to resist colonialism. So when others, they joined the war, then they got some insight there to say, no, we can rise against these people whom we say the colonial masters. And also Africans were forced to give up some of their reserved food to feed the soldiers in the battlefields. So you see there, the First World War also had an impact on the people, whereby they were providing food just for free there. And again, they were employed to work as road makers and porters of ammunitions. So we see to it that others were just employed to work as the porters, and again they were also to make roads towards the battlefronts. So in here, we can easily point a finger at the colonial government's handling of Africans' grievances, including Chilembwe's complaints for fueling the revolts rather than averting it. So we see to it that we can say that the colonial government did not handle properly the grievances of the people. As a result, they fueled much the anger which were in the people other than solving the problems that were there. Another one is the rumors of Chilembwe's unrest. That was another cause of the Chilembwe uprising. So the colonial government viewed Chilembwe as a troublemaker. So the punishment befitting the troublemakers was deportation. So rumors reached Chilembwe that the colonial government was intending to arrest him and deport him to Seychelles. So Chilembwe decided to strike before he was arrested. So there were those rumors that Chilembo was going to be arrested. So he wanted to fight before he gets arrested. Now let us look at the cause of the revolts. The cause, that is in the process during that time of the revolts, what happened. So Chilembwe did not have much time to prepare an armed rebellion against the colonial government. So we see to it that there were no trained soldiers, but the rebellion was planned to be an armed one using firearms, but there were no soldiers. So Chilembwe believed that the colonial government was planning to attack his mission on 25th January 1915. So he quickly organized a small group of fighters to attack the government first before they come and destroy maybe his mission. So the group was led by men of means by that time. So those men of means were the people like the progressive farmers and the small shopkeepers. So those people who had shops and the farmers who had some sizable farms, and others with some education, or the educated and the ardent members of the PIM. So they were the people who made up that revolt or rebellion. And these people included John Gray Kufa, Hugh Mataka, Duncan Njirima, Thomas Lulanga, David Kaduya, Andrak Jamali, including Chilembwe himself. So there were other prominent people with Chilembwe himself who led this rebellion. So what happened was that on 23rd January, because he believed that on 25th, the government was planning to come and destroy his mission. So he did that on 23rd. So the revolt started on 23rd January 1915. So Chilembwe's men attacked several European settlements or establishments, among which the Bruce Estate at Magomero. They attacked that one, the Bruce Estate. Remember the manager, William Jervis Livingstone. So there then, they decapitated, they beheaded this William Jervis Livingstone and the Mandara Arsenal Blantyre. So they went there and also caused some distractions there. So the rebels failed to get many firearms and ammunitions because they were discovered early in the stage of their campaign. So they failed to get the ammunition. So look at this. Chilembwe and his men, they were planning to use firearms, but themselves, they did not have the guns. So their plan was to go and steal the guns from the government. So they were discovered in the process of stealing those guns. So later, Mwanje and Nguludi missions, they were also attacked by these men of Chilembwe. So the revolt lasted about 2 weeks, only for 2 weeks, then the revolts were put down. So the colonial forces quickly suppressed it because they already had the guns and they were trained as soldiers. So they easily put that rebellion down. So casualty figures were not very high because the government quickly suppressed that rebellion. So it claimed 3 European lives. So look at that. Only 3 Europeans were killed, and several natives also were killed during that time. Africans were killed, including Chilembwe himself, who was among the people who were killed. So he was shot dead on 3rd February 1915 on the Malawi as Mozambique border. That's where he was found and shot dead. So many of his followers were arrested and summarily tried and hanged. So they were quickly, after they were arrested, they were quickly tried and they were sent to be killed. They were hanged. So the rebellion ended as a great tragic failure. So much as we have it as a great pomp to say there was Chilembwe Uprising, but it was a tragic failure because this one did not last long. Only 2 weeks, then the rebellion was put off. So the revolts failed. But now, why did the revolts fail? Number one is that it was poorly planned and executed. So there was no proper planning of those revolts. And number two was that inferior militancy on the part of Chilembwe's fighters. So even military tactics were not there. They also did not have the weapons to withstand against the colonial military. And also lack of support from other areas was expected, and even within Chiradzulu itself. So you see to it that the rebellion was staged in Chiradzulu itself or in Blantyre there, but then there was no support from elsewhere. So it was like a personal fight, Chilembwe against the colonial government, which was just very small. It was planned at a very small size. So there was no support from other areas who were like expressing dissatisfaction with the colonial government. But now let's look at the results. What were the results and the significance of this Chilembwe uprising? So we see to it, much as we have said that it ended in a tragedy, because the leader himself died, but then it had some results as well as it had some importance. That's why even up to today, we have to remember this revolt. So let's put out some of the results and the significance. So the PIM church at Magomero was destroyed together with Chilembwe's schools, but in 1920s, Dr. Malikebu, he restarted that church again. So Chilembwe's church at Magomero, it was destroyed, but later it was restarted in 1920 by Dr. Malikebu. And also Chilembwe and some of his followers, they were killed during the rebellion. Just as we have said, Chilembwe was shot dead and his followers, they were captured and they were tried and they were sentenced to death by hanging. So only 3 Europeans died, and neither European women or children were physically harmed. So we see to it that most of the Europeans, they were safe. And also a commission of inquiry was set up to find out whether the rebellion, why the rebellion took place. So the commission blamed the mission educated Africans. The mission educated Africans together with Joseph Booth. So educated Africans were blamed, and those people like the missionaries, those who were in the mission and the educated ones. And also the colonial government deported suspected missionaries, just as we have said that those educated the mission Africans, they were blamed. So the government took an action by deporting them. For example, Mr. Cockrell and Miss Horace of the Church of Christ, and Elliot Kamana of Watchtower Movement, and the Watchtower Church was also banned in 1917 to say no more this church in Nyasaland. So all those people, many other people, they were deported outside the country. And also Tangata System was abolished with the introduction of the Africans on private estate ordinance, that is in 1915. However, that abolition of that Tangata, it short-lived, because still more, they needed more people to work in the farms. So treatment of Africans on European estates improved, and also a number of new missions and schools were put under the government control after 1915. So let's look at the significance. What were the significance, some of the significance of the Chilembwe Uprising to the development of nationalism in Nyasaland? So what was some of the importance of this uprising towards nationalism or towards independence? So number one, we are saying that the uprising, it laid the foundation for African freedom struggle, as Chilembwe influenced many nationalists like Hastings Kamuzubanda and Orton Chirwa to do the same. So much as we have said that it was like a personal attack on the government by Chilembwe, but later on, when rumors now start to spread into other areas that there was an uprising in Blantyre some 2 weeks ago, or it lasted only 2 weeks, still more people, they wanted to find out the cause, and they were really they wanted to do the same at a certain point in time. So that one, it laid the foundation to that. And also it acted as a symbol of later resistance in Nyasaland, like the formation of associations and mass political parties to fight for independence in Nyasaland. So that uprising also, it was a symbol of later resistance, whereby others now, they were taking that one as an example to say, if Chilembwe did it in 1915, we are also going to do it now. So that's why it is just like a symbol of resistance now and again. If Chilembwe did it, we can do it even now. So later, there were the formation of native associations, whereby the people were coming together in a grouping and forming the association, voicing out against the colonial government. And also the revolts, the revolt gave later nationalists proper insight on how best to deal with the colonial regime if their concerns were to be addressed. So they realized that military confrontation against the Europeans was not practical. So later revolts or later concerns, they were made properly to say that, all right, next time when we do this, we are going to plan this one properly, because military confrontation or against them, to fight them against to fight against the colonial government using the firearms may not work. So we need to find proper way of doing it. So it's made as a proper, it gave them the proper insight to say, all right, next time if we want to rise against these people, we are going to use other methods rather than using the military. So to this far, we have reached the end of this topic. Now, it has been a very, very long topic. However, we have come to the end of this topic. Now, just as usual, I'll leave you with these questions just for you to practice as you go through everything that we have talked about. Remember, we started with the British occupation of Northern Rhodesia, which we looked at. We started by looking at the divisions of Rhodesia and their interest. What were the interests of the Europeans in Northern Rhodesia, and the policies and how it was governed, how the Europeans also suppressed different tribes there, the Lundu, the Wemba, the Swahili Arabs, and many others. And also we came to Nyasaland, whereby we started looking at the interest of the Europeans. Why were they interested? We also pointed out that Portugal, Britain, and Germany, they were the countries that were interested in the colonizing of Nyasaland. However, the British, they acted quickly, sending Sir Harry Johnson to agree with other parties. Hence, Nyasaland fell under the British control. So there then we looked at the colonial administrative policy. What were the policies? We looked, just as we looked at Southern Rhodesia, we looked at three: land, labor, and taxation. So in Northern Rhodesia, we looked at the same policies. So we looked at a number of issues, and the last thing that we have looked at is the rebellion or revolts of 1915 by Chilembo. So here is the work that you are going to do in order to refresh yourself on a number of concepts that you have gone through. So there are a number of questions that you are going to do. So go through them quietly, and you are going to grasp a number of issues there. So there are a number of questions. Yeah, the questions, they continue. There are a lot of them, of course, because it's like we have covered two parts. So we have covered the part of Northern Rhodesia, which is Zambia, and the part of Nyasaland. So in all those things, it means that we need to cover all these questions and look at them, or see to it that we can manage them. Yeah, there are a number of questions. Yeah, you have to explain and discuss, give reasons for a number of issues. But the last part is as usual, whereby I am supposed to give you the essay. So here is the essay. It's just a good essay. You are going to discuss the causes and the results of Chilembwe Uprising in 1915. So this one, you are going to write your essay discussing what were the causes, just as we have discussed. So you are going to do it on paper. So remember to do it on paper. Write these questions on paper, answer them there, then you scan them or take the photos, and after you do that, then you send them to the number that is here, or the email address that is also there. So there, then I'll also do the same and give you the feedback promptly. So do that work. So next time, as we proceed with the Form 3 work, we are going to look at this wonderful topic as well. So this topic is a really good topic. So it is the economic developments in Central Africa up to independence. Economic developments in Central Africa up to independence. So what were those economic developments that took place in Central Africa, in Southern Rhodesia, in Northern Rhodesia, and in Nyasaland? What were they? So be there. So as a matter of fact, this topic is also already there on the DVD. So what you are supposed to do is just to pick up that phone and make that call, because I'll be there waiting for your call. So until next time, thank you so much.